Gentlemen, welcome back to the shop. Today's project, we are doing some woodwork. The wife is doing flyball with the dogs, and they requested that I build them a new, what do they call it? Box of some sort. Now how this work is, the dogs run up to this box, and as they trigger it, it pops out a ball and they return the ball. Go and check it out on the internet. I'll leave a little thing down below. So I've got the measurements that they requested. So this is a commission piece. I'm not thinking this out of my head. So let's start marking it out and see where we go. So the first piece is 18.5 inches by 21 and odd 3/4. It's 550 by 470 for the meter, guys. So first up, we need to go 100 millimeter from this side and then go out at a 60-degree angle from let's call it from square. I know you're looking from the side, so in essence, let's put it in this way so you guys can see what's happening here. There we go. So we'll start off 100 millimeters from the bottom, make a little mark there, and then on the top end, to get this angle to be the remainder, now you can do the trigonometry. It's 370 exact. To get to that number, I'm not going to do the math. You need 213.6 millimeters. So let's go 213 to almost 4 and make our little mark there. That'll be close enough to 60 degrees, and then we can just chop this one off. I got the boards pre-cut from the supplier, but they only do square cuts, they don't do diagonal stuff. So we'll have to saw this one off and make it neat, but that's not a problem. Then the top end needs to be 200 millimeters or an odd 8 inches. And this goes back to the corner on that side. So I've got no idea what this angle is. Probably around about 70 if I look at it. But like I said, I've got no idea. It's just to finish the board off. And that'll be our first cut. I'm going to mark the second one out as well. I'm just checking which side of the boards are the nicest, so that I know where to cut, what to cut and what to leave. They will be sitting something like this. Will be the outsides, this will be the insides. Okay, so I'm just going to mark this one left and this one on the outside right. Left top, right top. Okay, let's go. 100 millimeters in, 213, 214, thereabouts. As you can hear, and then the next one is 200 millimeters in this direction, and then back down to the corner. Here we go. Okay, I'll get you at the bandsaw and let's cut these out. Okay, so there is some areas that will need a bit of filler that they've tried to but didn't make it, but this is going to be on the inside, so I'm not worried about it. So I'll make sure the outsides are smooth and nice and ready to go. Let me just get my earplugs in. Okay, I'm not going to sand this down to, let's call it furniture grade. Just get it to point where we can work on it. So this is going to be the, once again, this is going to be the front end. You guys are looking from the side. And next step we need to do is to fit this 100mm piece on here. It's going to sit like this, but the other way around, because this piece is the smoothest one. Or is it? Yeah, probably. This, I think I'm going to paint this thing when we're done, so doesn't really matter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my set square and set it to half of the thickness of the board. So what will happen is, let me just see if I got you guys in frame here. Okay, so what will happen is we will be marking out half of the thickness of the board so that we can drill the countersink holes for the screws. So what I tend to do is, I've got 2 set screws. I actually invested in a second one, and so this one I'll leave on half of the thickness of the boards so that I can easily mark out the center of the offset of the pilot hole, and then the other one I'll use as and when required. So let's start off with this side, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to draw long lines on this wood because you battle to sand it out afterwards. So this board is 750 long, so I'll be marking the center, which will be what, 375, 375 odd, yes. And from there on I will go out 100, 100 and 100, and then once again 100, 100 and 100, and on the edge I'm going to put in another 130 from the edge, 1, 2, 3, just for strengthening it up a bit. The dogs are going to jump on this thing every hundreds of thousands of times, so let's beef it up a little bit. So what I'll do now is I'll use the square set square that's just at random length, mark out the holes. I'll use a set square that's marked for the half of the board thickness. If you have a look at it, there we're on half of the board thickness, and now we can just mark out where we need to drill the pilot holes for the screws. There we go. Okay, so I'm using a number 5 countersink, but that works quite well with the screws that I've got, which is 3.5 by 30 millimeters. So I figured that they work quite well. So let's get going on it. Okay, so the next step would be to screw in these holes. So what I tend to do is, it just makes life a little bit easier for me, is I'll put in and start off the screws, and I'm going to tell you why. Is because this piece of plywood is not straight. So what tends to happen is you start screwing them in from the one side and it pulls to the other side, or to whichever side. So once you've got the screws in like that and you start off and it's bendy, you can bend it out till it's flush on the front end, and then carry on that. I'm going to change the camera angle and see if I can get you guys in on it, and maybe you'll see what I mean. First up, we just apply some glue. What's happening here now? This thing should be open. There we go. And now I will start this off on right on the corner, make sure it's flush. Self a rag, and this one is flush on both sides, and we will put this one in. There we go. Now we feel the second one, and now that the screws are already in, it makes it a much faster job than when it is not flush. You're not fighting it every time. This one is still flush. And now we can feel that this bottom board is actually proud of the edge of the top board. So what I'll do now is I'll bend it back in till I see, okay, right, here we go. This one is flush again. Oops. And now it starts getting the way the top board is proud of the bottom board, so I'll just bend it out a bit again. And because this is shutter ply, it's actually not high grade ply. We will be doing some filling and making neat and everything before we paint it. But what I'll just now take your rag and make sure you wipe off all the excess glue. Let's see on the inside. See, there's some excess on the inside. Easiest way to do that is with a screwdriver and a piece of rag. You can just wipe out the corner and then come back a second round, and you should have everything out of there. If you're using water-based glue, you can actually use a damp rag and it wipes off nearly everything. The only problem with using a damp rag is it tends to get the grain of the wood to stand up again. But that's not a big deal. Next up, I'm going to mark the space for the sides that are going to sit like this now. So first up, this does stick out a little bit on this corner because there's this little edge where we're going to do the holes for the pegs to hammer this thing to the ground. So what I will do is I'll just mark out. Will be our final edge. So once again, I'm going to start off about 30 from the side. Now why I do that is I start off 30 from the side. It doesn't matter where I am. I'm not going to go into another screw. It doesn't matter what I do. So that from the edge is normally the length of the screw that I use. It just makes it a little bit easier, making sure that you do not drive the one screw into the other. Now that I've got that done, which is 490, we start with the center of that, which will be 245. And this is a part that's really going to take the brunt of it. So I was thinking maybe only going 75, 150, 525. Remember, that doesn't work out, so because then we're fairly close to each other on this side. So let's say 6, 12, 18, And then 24 would be, we're out about that, so 60 is fine. So then I'm going to go to this side and say, right, same thing. Six, 12, 18, and then we're basically on 24, which is fine. So I'm just gonna you see how quick it is if we've got the two set squares, combination squares, what do you call it, combination squares, to just swap out and make sure that you've got everything done. We're going to mark this side as well, so once again we'll start 30 from the top and 30 from the bottom, and now we can drill them out as well. Now we can chuck this one around again, but first off we need to see which is the outside to side that'll fit there. It's going to be this one. That's going to be the inside. And just sand them off lightly. There we go. And now the same story goes. Just gonna glue it up before we start gluing it up. Let's get our screws in. Now I'm going to start screwing it in from this corner so that I can pull the corner tight, and then from there on we're gonna run it out. Plan your job, plan in your head how you're going to put it together. Just makes it easier in the long run. You can use a battery operated screwdriver for this as well. I've just got shop air, so that's what I'm gunning for. Okay, get it flush on this side. See how far I'm bending it out of line to get it lined up on this far edge, and then as we go closer to the edge I'll start bringing it back in again. There we go. And take our damp rag again, just wipe off all the excess glue. Okay, so next up is the top section of the box that needs to sit actually like that. No, I'm lying. It has to sit like that. But as you can see now, with this 60-degree angle here, we need to cut this one back at a 30-degree angle in order to make it work. Let's get the table saw out and get gunning on it. Okay, so I'm going to use my little level box and the table, because I know that the concrete on the saw is not square, well, not level. So I'm just going to zero that one out, and I'm going to stick this one on here. Okay, yeah, 60 degrees is going to be. There you go. I think that'll be close enough. And there we go. Came out beautiful. Right on the money. So now I can start fixing this portion, but I do need to put another 50 below it on the inside like that. So I think I'm going to put the two smaller sections together first, and then we can bring it in. I am bringing in this one underneath there just to give some stability and rigidity to the whole system. Okay, so this one I am lining up from the center because I need to get the center between this and this plane in order to make sure that we are equal on each side. And I think this is one of those times that we can actually make it work again. But just gonna check it again out of, I'm gonna move the camera for the, on the money. But now I'm gonna change over and do the outside one first, because otherwise we might end up walking this thing again. And there we go. Ladies and gents, I think we saved this one. By the skin of our noses. Okay, so the next one we need to get this portion in at the top end. That's what the ball launcher is going to be fitted onto. But once again, we need to cut off that little corner at 60 degrees to make it fit. So back to the table saw. And this one should now fit in there. Okay. Right on the money. This is working out better than expected, to be dead honest with you. I think what the difference being is this is the first time that I'm using that little angle box to get these type of corners sorted out. So I am so happy. Didn't press record there. So what I did was I measured out 25 25 25 25 to 150 over there, but then that becomes awfully close to the edge of this board, leaving me only 10 millimeters. So I'm scared that this will split out, so I just moved it back 10 mils. These two are going to be close to each other, but that's okay because this is going to be the hardest working part of this whole thing, and I want to get as much screws into there as I can. One came out right on the money. And this box is getting fairly rigid now, which I like. Absolutely love it. Now this one will fit onto here. And it's an absolute squeeze fit. Just the way we want it. There we go. And make this one fit here. Now I have to transfer these holes. I don't know if you guys can see here. Let's give you a bit higher. Little bit of a bird's eye view. Now I have to transfer these holes because there's another set of screws that will go in at an angle into this front panel. So I'm just going to transfer them. Okay, so next up I'm going to drill these holes, try and get it as close to the angle that we've got here as possible, so that once we fit this, we'll be on the money. Now we're just going to make sure that we flush. and get all the screws in. Okay, so this one I've cut off at 60 degrees again. Looks like it's going to be okay. And now we just need to take the bottom one and cut that one off at half of it, which would be, what's that? 75. Let's go and cut it at 75. Here we go. So we have to cut it parallel, basically parallel to this one. So we are ready. Let's chuck it through the saw and see. Okay, let's see how it fits. On the money. I do however think that I'm gonna take it off a little bit more. Don't know if you can see there, but there's a little bit of a lip here that I'm not too fond of. So I'm gonna take this bottom one off, let's say another 2 millimeters, and until it's a flush fit on top. I think that'll be the easiest. Okay, so I got it super close. This one's actually flush. This one is about 1 millimeter high. So I think that will sand out once we've got the whole thing done, or I'll use a router once we've got this all flat and just router it out. Down at the bottom there's a little bit just for the trigger that it can hinge, so there is more than enough for that hinge point. So the problem is actually down here at the bottom, because this is not square. The moment I bring this back in up a bit, everything comes into square. I'm going to take a little bit more off, and then we will fix that little portion once we put the hinges back on. And there we go. Something's a little bit out of square, something kicked a little bit, but once we get the hinges in, we'll be able to sort that out, and it actually fits nice and flush. Next up, there's one over there. And then this one should fit on there. So what I'm going to do is we're going to cut this one off at 74 degrees. I'm going to go do that off camera. I'll get you back here at the bench once we're done with that. Okay, so we've cut these two at a 74 degree angle, and it seems to be fitting quite well. That will then hinge in this direction to get to the mechanical parts of this. So let's get this one sorted out quickly. There we go. Now we can start putting the hinges on, but before we do that, I'm going to sand it off and do some filling of all these screw holes. There's still a couple of things that I need to finish off on this before we can do the final coating. So, and I still need to put handles on this side. But that I need to go and pick up tomorrow, as it's New Year's Day and all the shops are closed. So I think that's about as far as we're going to get today. Okay, so next up I'm just putting in the hinges. So just place them sort of equally. Okay, so I tapped it on the pressure, well, let's call it the trigger plate. Fitted, I ran out of battery, so I fitted the these little hinges, so they came out okay. And now we just need to fit the inside 3 hinges, so I'm just gonna clamp you guys on there, get everything lined up, and now we can fit the hinges. Again, I'm gonna use these 3x20 screws. They should not go through, and if they do go through, we can just sand off that little nip at the end. Start right in the corner. There we go. Let's see how this goes when we tilt it back up again. Gentlemen, and there we go. This is now the trigger plate, which is going to sit probably, I'd say, about ½ an inch from there. And then as the dog tips it, it'll shoot out the ball. That we'll get to in the next step. And then at the back, you get to the trigger mechanism. We can just fold it open and fold it shut again. Okay, so next up is the trigger plate reset, if we can call it that. It's just a bolt that's spring loaded that'll reset the trigger plate once the dog has triggered it. I've got these two pieces of shutter ply, 50x50, as you can see there, just marked out the centers and the 4 screws around it. We'll be using an 8mm bolt. This bolt is 8x50. I think it's going to work just fine. The spring that I got fits an 8mm ID perfectly, but it's far too long, so that we'll just cut off and just use the piece that we require. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to try it. I don't know if the spring is going to be too tight. This spring is only 3 kilogram when it's full length, but obviously I'm not sure what's going to happen if we only use that last little bit. It looks like it's going to be okay. And we're going to have 2 of them. So I've got the box on its side. The trigger plate will sit in this direction now and trigger like that. I've marked out the line 55 from the inside and 55 from the inside, just to know that we can get this. I can actually go further to the end, maybe. I think maybe we should. Yeah, I'm going to remark this out. I forgot that this is only 50 and working on half to the center, so I'm going to move this up to, let's call it 30 and 30. I think that's gonna be the number, and at least we know we 5 from the inside, and I can still get, I don't know if I'm going to get screws in. Let me quickly check this out. Okay, so this is the inside of the box. This will in essence sit somewhere around here. So I think what I need to do is I'm going to have to move this one up to just clear that one there, so that we can get a screw in there. I think that's going to be my answer, and then stay as close, well, let's call it 5mm away from this edge, and let's see what we can get to. I'm just going to use my combination square to get that point over there, and then transfer it to the outside. Back on the outside, just to get you up to speed, that was the depth that I measured to that one, to the inside. So if we transfer that, that would be the edge where we could get the block in and still get a screw in. So I'm going to work on that, and then I am going to work on, so from that line I'm going to go 25 and 30, so that I know I am 5mm away from the inside of the box over there. Just scratch that one out, and I am far enough away, so that will be our new place where the trigger bolt will sit. I'm just going to mark out the other side as well, guys, and in the meantime I've sanded off some of the filler and reapplied some of it. I'm not going to show that type of thing. We all know how to put filler on wood and sand it down to flush again. I don't see any need to waste your time on that. Okay, so I'm just going to drill the two 8mm holes in the little square sections that I just cut out. Okay, so this is how it's going to sit. So in essence, I will need, oopsie, this amount of spring. So I'm just going to cut off a piece that'll fit in there, and let's see what we can do. Now I decided I don't want to really mess up my crescent side cutter, so I've got this cheap little small bolt cutter. Hopefully I can get it in here. Which side did I have it now? Let's see here. Here we go. So I'm just going to see if I can get it in here and cut off a piece. There we go. I haven't got nylock nuts yet. Eventually I'll replace, well, before we put it together, not eventually, before we put it together, I'll replace these with nylock nuts so that they don't go creeping out on me. In essence, this is how it'll fit into the board. I think what I should do is my hole is 8mm and my bolt's 8mm, and I don't think something's jamming up on something here. Let's try again. The other way around. There we go. So in essence, this is how it will sit, and then that will be your trigger mechanism, two of them. Just going to take it apart so I can cut this other length of string. I'm going to cut both of them to the same, or close to the same. Oops. I'm going to try and cut them the same. How successful I'm going to be is to be debated. Here we go. So let's try again. Put them together like this. The idea is also that by tightening this bolt, this nut here, you can actually set the depth of the trigger a bit. It doesn't feel, I think a dog will be able to. Guys, the plans that I got from the internet, well, that I was sent, was done by, I can't remember who. I'll put the link in the description and cite him down below. Thanks for the plans. It is actually not, the plans aren't that bad. I've had much worse building stuff in the past. This was really not that far off. Here and there I did something a little bit different. So there we go. There we've got our two trigger reset mechanisms. Let's get them on there. Okay, so now that we've marked out the holes, I am going to take a 20mm Forstner bit just to be able to get the washer through it and drill out these two holes, and then we can take it from there. Okay, so now we can make it fit, get it lined up sort of okay. Now we can drive on the screws. Okay, so there is the two triggers, and then the trigger plate sits on top of that, and the dog needs to just bump it like that, and then it'll set off the thruster and kick out the ball. So next up, what we're going to do is we need to drill the holes for where the balls will go in and the thruster will go through. Okay, so what I did was I started off marking out the holes, 215 from the sides, 95 from the top, and that gives us the center of our two holes. I started off with a 54 diameter hole saw, drilled it right through so I can get the pilot transferred to the back end. Now I'm going to take off the trigger board, and then we can drill the back end with a 51. Okay, so I've taken off the trigger plate. I am going to drill the rest of the 54mm holes from the back end. What that does is it minimizes tear out, because now you're actually drilling from two sides. So you cut the face of the board on both sides, so then you don't get any tear out. If you just drill it through from the one end, the back end is always a mess. Go. There we go. And now you've got the tear out in the middle of the board that we can now sort out with a file very easily. Just got a half round file. Oops. Okay, so I've switched over to the 51mm hole, so I've got the two pilot holes, and that's where we will be drilling them through. And once again, now that we're through to the other side, I can use the same pilot and drill it through and not having, well, as much tear out. Yeah, I messed up a bit. I will sand that out and fix it up. Okay, next up I'm going to fit the handles. Although we're going to take it off for painting, I want to have the pilot holes already there for the screws that I know where to fit them afterwards. So for the handle, I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to make the edge of the handle in line with the front edge of the box here. So the handle will basically be sitting a little bit to the front, but it's okay because it's going to be a bit top heavy, and you'll probably carry it in that direction. And then I think if I put it 3 inches from this side, it'll be okay. There we go. Something like that. Now I'm not going to put the handles on yet, I'm just going to drill the pilot holes. Once we've got the pilots drilled, we can paint the whole thing, and then we can fit the handles. Alright, so in the meantime it's been painted, the wife and kids painted it, so let's get cracking and put this thing together. Okay, so first up I'm just going to put in these little reset thingies. I picked up some nylock lock washers so that we know they won't come out again, and this is just to reset the trigger plate. Okay, so now that we've got that set up, this is the thruster, so it reloads like that, and there's a little trigger, so you just reload it by pressing it, and it's got a little trigger on it. That'll be in the next episode. We'll be manufacturing some more of these, so look out for that one. I'm just going to fit these were already made iron manufacture them. But let's get them installed and see what we can do. Okay, so they need to fit on here and in here. So I'm just gonna get them sort of centered out, marked out, and let's see if we can get them fitted. Okay, so I've taken an M8 bolt and just sharpened up the point. I'm gonna use that as a transfer punch. Okay, so now that I've got the pilot hole through here, I am going to countersink this hole a little bit because I need the 8mm bolt head to be flush with this panel. So I'm just gonna I need to wash it in here as well, so it's a little bit more. There you go. I think that'll be the one. I'm just gonna slide the washer over here and see if we're close to, and we are. That one will work fine. Now I'm gonna swap out for 8mm drill and drill it through. Okay, so this is the first one mounted. That's a little trigger that you set in and out there. This is it, basically fitted. So that's it, just reset, fit. Okay, so let's mark out the center of the other holes, and you can fit the whole thing. Okay, gents, so this is the trigger plate. I'm shorting hardware. I'm shorting M8 washers, which I'll get tomorrow morning, and then we can finalize that section as well. But now we need to stick on this matting on here. So what I'm going to do is, it looks like a closed cell foam or something. They call it fatigue mat. And what I'm going to do is I've marked out how far it needs to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some contact adhesive on here, stick it on, then we're going to turn it around, clamp it to the table, and we'll put something heavy on it, I'll see, and then leave it as is and cut it off tomorrow. Okay, so I got the hardware that I was looking for. I did mount it to ball launchers. I don't know what you call them. So they are fitted like that. There's gonna be a little piece of rubber on here, and then the trigger plate would trigger them like that, and then it ejects the ball, and then you just reset it. Normal sear type trigger, like 99% of firearms. So actually, very cool idea. I just sealed the wood in the hole so that if it gets water in, I'm not worried about that. Okay, so let's start getting the trigger plate and the back end on. I still need to do a little bit of what do you call it? Carpet, that closed cell foam mat here on the front end. And I think then we're almost there. There's two holes that I need to drill and reinforce at the back. But let's get the trigger plate on. Maybe I should first put half of the hinges just on, not tightening them up, but just to get them on here without the while giving us a little bit more place to work. gentlemen, and there we go. Got this put together. There we can see the two thrusters. Just put a little bit of that matting on the thruster head. Apparently that should be the thing. Now the only thing left is some carpeting matting needed on this side, and then I need to drill 2 holes in here, so I think that'll be the next step. Okay gents, sorry if you missed the final fit and finish. I ran into a bit of a timing issue. I had to get this thing done, so I had to focus on getting it finalized. As you can see, it's now standing on that little piece that I just glued together. Just used contact adhesive between the wood and the rubber, so that's working fine. This one's done. There is the top end opening up. There's the 2 thrusters. Came out beautiful, must be honest with you. And then they actually pegged this thing into the ground. So I just drilled a 10mm hole, took a body washer, countersunk 2 little holes in there and screwed it on there. So now you can put a tent peg or something in there and you won't mess up the wood as quickly. On that side is also one. So I'm going to leave this one for tonight. They are going to use it tomorrow. I'll ask to get a video of it, and let's see how this thing works. I hope it works, but if not, we'll make it work. There's enough space to fine-tune the thrusters and the, what do you call it, the little sear trigger, etc. Me and my wife did spend some time getting it set up as close to what it should be as we can get it for now. They'll test it tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. And then always after a project, I'll do the cleanup, but I'm going to leave that for tonight. I'll tackle that tomorrow. And there we have it, everybody. The Flyball box is complete. It's been painted and all the necessary artwork and stuff done on it. I did make a couple of alterations to the original plan. There's the 2 trigger mechanisms, thrusters as they call it. Came out good, like I say. Had to put in some spacers. Let me get you in and show you. There you can see the spacers that I had to put in just to get everything sorted and spaced right and so forth. I have marked it up on a CAD, so in future I probably will build another one of these somewhere along the line. But if needs be, then we've already got something better to work with. But there we go. Just set it and trigger it. Let me get you on the front side. It actually works wonderful. Earlier in the video I did say that it was closed cell foam. It's actually open cell foam, so it does draw water. If you're going to build yours, maybe look for something that's closed cell so that at least you know there's no water coming in. But just gonna load it, and there we go. Put the ball in. Boom. I'll see if I can get you a bit of video footage of this thing actually working, but that's it. I think we're done with this one. With that, I'm going to call it and say thank you everyone. If you've made it thus far, thanks for watching. As always, please subscribe to the channel, ring the little bell, make sure you don't miss anything, and give us a like and a comment. It helps with the algorithm. It's much appreciated from my side. And with that, I'm going to say thank you very much, and as always, stay safe.